Okay, so we're going to go over two conversations in this video that are both Toronto Maple Leafs related. We'll save the bigger one, the more frantic one, for the end because, you know, that's kind of how a tease in the business works, kids. But today we're talking about money. Lots and lots of money, and how money can affect the Toronto Maple Leafs in different ways with these two players. We're starting this video off with a conversation that can be seen as a bad thing. This may not be good news, and depending on who you ask, it could potentially screw over the Leafs once again. Because, to open up this video, we're going to be talking about goaltender Matt Murray. Yeah, that's right. Matt Murray still exists, and Matt Murray is still a Toronto Maple Leafs goaltender by technicality. He's 29 years old, 6'4". We know the profile here with Matt Murray. He's signed on to the end of this season, making $6.25 million a year, but that salary is retained by the Senators, so against the Maple Leafs cap, he is only making $4.687 million a year. This contract, of course, expires at the end of this season, so after 2023-2024, it's done, there's no more money involved, but Matt Murray this entire season has been on the LTIR. He's been out the entire time. He only played 26 games with the Maple Leafs last year. He suited up in 0 games this year. Nobody in their right mind came into 2023 expecting Matt Murray to actually be an option for the Toronto Maple Leafs, especially since at the start of the season, he had himself a bilateral hip surgery that was expected to costing him a minimum of 6 to 8 months on the schedule. Murray has been a non-option, which is okay because his LTIR money is helpful for the Leafs. They could use that extra space to accrue more players, but we had ourselves Maple Leafs GM Brad Treliving go out there and give us an update that has started an interesting conversation as to whether or not this could be actually more than just an LTIR thing. Take a look at this post made on the Hockey News by Nick Barden. So, yes, it is the Toronto Marlies guy. He's doing well. Maple Leafs GM Brad Treliving gives a Matt Murray update. Barden then asks the question, could Murray be an option this season? Here's the quote from the Leafs GM right now. Matt Murray is doing well. It's a significant rehab, but there have been no setbacks. He's attacked at full steam. He's up to the stage where I think, actually, I shouldn't say this because I probably might be wrong, but I think he didn't do a goaltender skate, but he did a public skate where he threw on a sweatsuit and kind of wandered around the ice a little bit. So that's good progression. He's got a ways to go, but everything's been really positive in terms of no setbacks. He's been on track and things are going well. Barden then goes out there and writes, the minimum recovery time for Matt Murray of 6 months would take us to April, which is still in the regular season for Toronto. That means it's always a possibility that he actually comes back and plays a game or two. Treliving, though, did say the Leafs are electing to take the cautious approach. We want to be careful with it, he said. There's no pressure to get Matt Murray going. We just want to make sure he goes about it, and when he's ready, he's ready. That's off in the horizon. Now, this article is pretty short, but it does give an intriguing perspective that you can't just go out there and immediately dismiss Murray as a non-option for the rest of the year. We already had the timeline listed out earlier in October, and if you were to follow it to a T, it takes you right to the regular season's end. There still is a possibility here, albeit not a very high one, that Matt Murray does come back in some capacity and maybe even plays a game. Is it likely? I'd probably make a bet and say no, but you can't dismiss it, which is why this entire idea is so interesting, because if Matt Murray does come back, let's just say he hyper-speeds through this recovery, he is good to go by the time April rolls around, and he's good enough where he's like, yeah, I'm, good, I want to go out there and play. Then the Toronto Maple Leafs have no choice but to activate that money off the LTIR, and $4-something million is not nothing. That's a lot of money that you would get reinstated into your cap structure. Now, I'll say that that possibility is probably unlikely. We've seen the hoops and hurdles that players will go through to ensure that their teams are able to keep them on the LTIR. The biggest example of that, I'd say, is Nikita Kucherov, who missed out on an entire gosh darn season only to come back with the Lightning in the playoffs, dominate in the playoffs as if he was never injured, and then win a Stanley Cup. We know players do this stuff. There are loopholes, there are other extenuating circumstances that in which the league may not approve of, but they're not aware of at the same time. Matt Murray, for all we care, could be good to go in like March. Let's just say theoretically, he's okay to play in March. Earlier than his timeline suggested, etc., etc. He recovers well. Let's say that happens. The Toronto Maple Leafs have it within their best interest to sit Murray down and say, hey, we know you're good, but like, can you just pretend that you're not? Like, we can't put you back on the roster. We're invested too much into other guys. We'll be dead if you end up coming back. So let's just do your evals. You'll say that there's a little bit of pain, and we're good. You'll ride out the end of the season on this contract, you'll sign elsewhere next year, you'll come back, and it's like nothing ever happened, right? That could very well be a possibility as well. And so when it comes to Matt Murray, the fact that he is on a pretty good recovery timeline that is in line with the news we had back in October, that's a good thing. Of course, you know, for the human being it's a good thing, but for the Toronto Maple Leafs, who are already in a pickle trying to find themselves another goaltender, it's going to be interesting to see if that actually means something in the long term in regards to the Maple Leafs cap at the end of the season. So let me know your thoughts in the comment section below about this entire Matt Murray situation, but what I also wanted to do was talk about the William Nylander conversation as well, because at the time of recording this audio, the Toronto Maple Leafs have not given out a contract to William Nylander. That could change by the time this video is uploaded on YouTube, but for now, he is still a $6.9 million AAV guy signed till the end of this season. Nylander is on pace for over 100 points, he's got 51 points in 36 games, he's really good. But we had ourselves some updates from Elliotte Friedman and Nick Kypreos as to where this could be going. Take a look at Spectors Hockey from January 4th, so yesterday. It kind of summarizes everything you need to know. Elliotte Friedman believes the Toronto Maple Leafs and William Nylander's representatives are working right now on a contract extension. He wouldn't be surprised if this gets done soon, and considers signing him their #1 priority. Nick Kypreos also claimed that they're talking about an 8-year deal in the range of an $11.25 million AAV. Friedman isn't sure about that, but he doesn't think his colleague is off by much, if at all, with his estimation. Now that's a pretty big number, 11.25 mil. It's more than what Mitch Marner is making right now. And honestly, if you talk about William Nylander, the guy, I mean, he's playing the best hockey he's ever had. He's a top 10 player, yeah, top 10, that's what he is. Top 10, top 6, I think, player in the NHL in points right now, and he's on pace to shattering his record last year in terms of total points. This is a guy who, if you're gonna pay him $11 million a year, honestly, you could say it's a little bit worth it when you consider the cap going up by as much as it's going to go up by in the next few years. If you had signed Nylander to this contract like when Marner and Matthews and Tavares all signed, then okay, maybe it would have been an overpay back then. But Nylander has been so good, he's literally first on the Leafs in points now, and you could very well say he's more valuable than Marner is at this point, that giving him that dollar amount doesn't seem like too bad of a move when you consider the cap is going to go up by that much. He's been on such a bargain the past few years at 6.9 mil that you kind of have to give him his due, right? But the biggest question has always been, what are the Toronto Maple Leafs going to do to make that money available? If they end up giving Nylander 11.25, and they've got Marner at 10.9, Tavares at 11, Matthews at 13, that is 4 players right there, taking up just around half of the entire salary cap space that you got? That's a lot of money, man. Going back over onto Spectors Hockey, Spectors note goes out there and says this: some observers, like the Toronto Sun's Steve Simmons, are concerned that the Leafs winger could be a one-year wonder. They fear that he'll come crashing back to earth once he's signed a lucrative long-term deal. I think, Lyle Richardson goes out there and writes, what we're seeing from Nylander is the real thing now that he's in his prime. He has steadily improved over the past 4 seasons, including an 80-point campaign in 21-22 and 87 points last year. He's also been arguably their most consistent playoff performer. So, lots of money talk today with the Toronto Maple Leafs. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. How do you feel about the idea of Matt Murray potentially coming back and maybe screwing over this entire Toronto Maple Leafs team once more with his cap dollars? And how do you feel about the rumors coming out that Nylander is close to an extension? Again, by the time this video is uploaded, maybe he's already signed. Maybe he's already got 11-point-something mil under his belt for the next few years. But if he hasn't, then let me know your thoughts in the comment section. How do you feel this entire contract would look like? Do you like that kind of a number, etc., etc., etc. I hope you enjoyed this video, and bye.